Get ready. Get set. It's time for the Basement View. Hey, good evening. Good evening. Man, November the 22nd. Wow. Friday, cold evening, and dark. Man, glad to be here, though. Still alive. I hope you are, too. It's me, myself, and I. And this is the Basement View. Glad you could make it. Interesting times we're in. Interesting times we're in right now. Boy, I tell you, every day, they got some new stuff going on. Some new bull crap going on. Appreciate you coming back to check me out. If you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button and hit that thumbs up button for me. Helps out the algorithm there. Hey, Lisa, how you doing? Glad you could make it. What up, James? Hey, Ronnie, how's it going? Ran across a funny statistic today, just by accident. Statistic that read 7% of Americans believe chocolate milk comes from brown cows. Hey, Carmen. Now, isn't that interesting? 7% of American adults believe chocolate milk comes from brown cows. That just blew me away. And that's a very true statistic. It is actual. That's crazy. Absolutely. Hey, and get this. 48% of adult Americans don't know where chocolate milk comes from. Yeah, wow. So, when we walking around, keep your head on the swivel, because the zombies is out there. The zombies are out there. Oh, man. Is it true brown chickens lay brown eggs? Now, see, now you teeing off on the zombies, man. Don't tee off on the zombies. Shoot. That's crazy, ain't it? It is. It's nuts. It's nuts. And again today, I see all over social media, I've been seeing they still jumping on Morning Joe, on Joe and Mika. They still jumping on them. that them going down to see Trump kind of jacked everybody up. Hey, Charles, what's up? That got folks mad at Joe and Mika. Man, they still jumping on them. So, it is what it is. But yeah, we got to be careful of the zombies out there, y'all, because they out there. They out there. Hey, check this out. I ran across this too. Hey, kids are something else. Funny stuff. Have a look at this.
We're going to start with words that end in A-N. You yell out a word, I'll write it down. Let's see how many we can get. Go!
Fan!
Fan! There's a good one.
Man!
Man, that's another one.
Lesbian!
Words that end in A-N. Anyone? Words ending in A-N.
Lesbian!
Okay, I heard pan. Good.
No, Faith said lesbian.
All right, no big deal. Faith said lesbian. Hold on. Good, we'll write that down. Just a word, not a big deal, but we'll move on. We'll get some other ones.
What is a lesbian, sir?
What's your word? How do you... All right. If you liked another girl, that could be...
I like Olivia. Am I a lesbian?
Well, if you like Olivia, you could be, sure.
I like Olivia. I love Olivia. I like Olivia too. Am I a lesbian?
No, it doesn't work that way, Philip. You can never be a lesbian.
No fear. I want to be a lesbian. Me too.
We can all be lesbians. Okay, let's just move on. Let's try words that end in O-N.
Prostitution.
What did you say?
Prostitution. What is prostitution?
What is prostitution? Let's say prostitution is when you work in the street and you get paid.
I want to do prostitution.
No. All right. Moving on to words that end in R-E, but let me just have a second here. So shout out words that end in R-E.
Crack whore.
Boy, them kids are something else, wasn't they? They was tearing his ass up. Oh, that was funny. That got me. That got me big time. Alrighty. Hey, when I left off last time, I was about to get into some of this Project 2025, these changes to ICE that they plan to make. So, excuse me. I'm going to jump into that right quick. Hey, James. Hey, man, you got to spell it right. Oh, shit. And I'm also going to try and squeeze in a little conversation on something else. But anyway, let's get this out the way right quick. Let me spend a few minutes on this Project 2025 right fast early on. Well, also, you know what? Yeah, let's do this. Okay, on page 141 of Project 2025, they intend to eliminate T and U visas. Now, a T and a U visa is, I guess, a visa that allows people to come into the country if you were victimized in your country. It gives you, an asylum of such. And it says victimization should not be a basis for immigration benefit. So the fact that you live in a country where gangs might be trying to force you to be a courier or something, you don't get to run to this country and say, hey, I need asylum, because they're going to kill my ass if I don't sell drugs for them. So they're stripping that out. Also, they're prioritizing national security in the student and exchange visitor program. One of the lines reads, the Department of State to eliminate or significantly reduce the number of visas issued to foreign students from enemy nations. All right. Well, guess who's going to be deciding what an enemy nation is? Yeah, you guessed it. Them guys. So they decide who the enemies are and then limit your ass from getting a student visa. There it is. That's not a shock, huh? This is interesting too. Most of the foregoing can be accomplished rapidly and effectively through executive action that is both lawful and appropriate. Additionally, ICE should clarify who is responsible for enforcing its criminal and civil authorities. Isn't that interesting? Executive action. That means it can just be done. all of these things they want to do can just be done. Isn't that something? Also, they have something called sensitive zones where ICE don't go into. They intend to rescind anything called a sensitive zone, and ICE can go anywhere. Okay? They can go anywhere when they hunting people down. Also, the role of ICE deportation officer should be clarified. Enforcement and removal operations should be identified as being primarily responsible for enforcing civil immigration regulations, including civil arrest, detention, and removal of immigration violators anywhere in the United States. So, anywhere in the United States, for those of you who live in a, what do they call them? Sanctuary city? Not anymore. Not anymore. To maximize the efficient use of its resources, ICE should make full use of existing expedited removal authorities. Man, expedite. Interesting. And here's one that's interesting. Now, they fought the Democrats on this, but they want to add Congress should fund ICE for at least 20,000 enforcement and removal officers and 5,000 Office of the Principal Legal Advisor attorneys. Now, they fought the Democrats on that. Remember that bill that the orange guy told them to turn down? Turn right around and put it in their paperwork. Ain't that interesting? And these people don't give a darn. I mean, they don't give a darn. Here's one. Page 145. Repeal temporary protected status. Now, for all of you who don't know, that temporary protected status, that's the immigrants in Ohio. You remember the ones that was eating the dogs and cats? They fall under that. Okay? They intend to strip that away. So if you're in the country under that, out you go. And I heard a report tonight that there are people living in Ohio that are scared to death and they're moving. That's a shame because they're here under protected status and they intend to strip it away. And the people of Ohio are not complaining. That's the killer part of it. But these people are just heartless. Here's one. Management directives and policies should realign to ensure that the workforce, while adaptable and able to handle the bulk of the USCIS mission, is not allowed to be pulled off mission work to focus on unlawful programs like DACA, mass parole for Afghans, Ukrainians, Venezuelans, etc., which divert resources away from nuclear family and employment programs. In other words, they're going to concentrate everything, every resource. They're stripping out any other program They're just going to strip everything and concentrate on deportation, catching and deporting. That's it. End of the whole shebang. They just redoing it all. Okay. Unaccompanied minors. Hey. Unaccompanied minors. You know, we have a lot of those, right? Congress should repeal Section 235. The Indiana National Guard said yesterday that they're ready to go do the work of deportation. Oh, yeah. Just on that note, yes, all of the red states, okay? All of the red states have decided and volunteered to send their National Guard on deportation missions and go into blue states to fulfill that mission. Now, isn't that interesting? They intend to go into blue states and stomp around and drag people out of the houses and whatever. So this ought to be interesting. Okay, back to unaccompanied children. The act that provides numerous, I'm not going to go into that long-ass acronym they got, that shit's 2 lines long, which provides numerous immigration benefits to unaccompanied alien children and only encourages more parents to send their children across the border illegally and unaccompanied. These children too often become trafficking victims. That is going to no longer happen. If you're unaccompanied minor, they just gonna drop you back across the border. Period. All unaccompanied children, regardless of nationality, may be returned to their home countries in a safe and efficient manner. Really? Yeah, we know what they mean by safe and efficient. While every other unaccompanied minor must be placed into a lengthy process that usually results in the minor landing in the custody of an illegal alien family member. That's not going to happen anymore. They're not going to let the minors go to family members. They're just going to snatch them up, drag them back out of the country. Period. Also, if you want to get asylum here, they're going to raise the standard. You're going to have to really prove you need asylum here. You're going to have an arm amputated and a leg or something. They're going to eliminate particular social group protection. Now, I've never heard of that, but I'm sure that has helped some people. If it exists, it has helped somebody, and they're eliminating that. Congress should halt funds given to non-governmental organizations to process and transport illegal aliens into and throughout the United States. Such funds and infrastructure, including Homeland Security Joint Processing Centers, should be redirected to secure the border, detain aliens, and provide space for immigration court proceedings. Now, they intend to wipe out funding for transportation of aliens. Let's say you're a sanctuary city, and you have an agency in your city that will go and pick up immigrants. Well, no more money for that agency. Whatever that agency is, that agency gets no more cash. And all of that money is just going to be directed to the border and sending them back out. Also, Congress should reassert control of employment authorization, which is subject to regulatory abuse, and limit it to certain categories of legal immigrants and non-immigrants. So, they intend to reform ICE to make ICE slim and trim. And ICE is only going to go after immigrants all day and all night. No other programs. They're going to be able to deputize National Guards in the red states, send them into the blue states, kicking doors in, stomping around. They're stripping all the money out of any funds and any agencies that's a program that might benefit somebody that may be under ICE control. So those programs are gone. ICE is going to be slim and trim. All they're going to do is they're going to secure the border. They're going to build the wall. They're going to charge you and me for it. And that's that. Okay? So, that's that portion of Project 2025. All right. Let's pivot from there. I just wanted to get that out of the way. It's Friday, and I want to try and put something out on Project 2025 as much as I can. All right. Now, what I want to get into tonight is my neighbor sent me a clip. My neighbor sends me stuff all the time, and it's usually good stuff. I got to show you this. There's a white man that wants to live in an all-white country, a whites-only country. You know, he's quite happy with Donald Trump's plan. Let me see if I can cue this up. You all take a gander at this guy.
Wherever you look, if you see conflict, people diligently slitting each other's throats, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's in Africa, it's because of diversity. Diversity of ethnicity, of language, of religion, but primarily of race.
So you want to live in a white-only country?
Not necessarily white-only, but a country that is clearly based on a European model in which whites will basically remain the overwhelming majority in perpetuity.
Okay, how do you achieve that?
Well, that's an excellent question. Donald Trump has got some first good steps in mind. He wants to make sure no more illegal immigrants come into the country, and he wants to make sure that all illegal immigrants here go back. He wants to end birthright citizenship. He wants to put at least a temporary ban on Muslim immigration.
What happens with Asians? What happens with African Americans? What happens with Latinos?
What happens to my people?
You presented me with a very limited view of the United States.
You're saying the United States is a place anybody can come and turn it into anything you want, and the people who built this country and established its institutions, if they glimmer away, so what? You are promoting a process that will reduce my people to a minority. You want more power for Latinos. That comes at the expense of my people's power.
We're 17% of the population,
right,
and we only have 3 senators. So therefore, we don't have the political representation that we deserve.
And you want more and more and more?
Of course, because we only have 3 senators.
How much political?
At this point, 14 senators.
And 50 years from now, how many would you like?
Let's talk about 50 years from now. In 2044,
yes,
white non-Hispanics will become a minority. Yes. Is that what you're afraid of?
Mr. Ramos, it's fantastic for you, for my people to lose power and become a minority. That's fantastic for you. How does it feel for
Because
me?
it is our country, Mr.
Our
Taylor.
country,
It is our country. Don't you think we both have the same rights in this country?
I think that despite this nonsense in the Declaration about anybody being anyone,
Excuse
the
me,
white
you
people,
don't
the white
think
people.
we are all created equal?
No. What you want to do is change this country into an entire nation in which white people will become refugees in their own land
So
if your vision comes through.
You don't want to
true.
live alongside Mexicans?
Now, why is it wrong for me not to want my neighborhood to change?
You'll
If
be-
my neighborhood is European, if my neighborhood they don't keep chickens in the backyard that crow at 3 in the morning.
What are you
they
talking
don't,
about?
I'm
That's a
talking
complete
about
stereotype.
Mexicans.
That's a complete stereotype.
Yes, and stereotypes are all true.
It's a
aren't they?
racist stereotype, what you're saying.
Oh, racist! Give me a break.
What are you going to do with the thousands of Muslims,
We certainly
American citizens, who are serving in the military?
I'm sure that we just couldn't possibly survive with all those Muslim Navy Rangers. Yes, I'm sure that's true.
That is not right.
No, I'm talking
You
about
cannot make
Muslim,
fun of people who are saving our lives.
They want special holidays and special food. In
So if you
school
don't like their
restaurants,
religion, you don't have to join them. That's fine.
Well, no,
but,
they are-
But,
wait,
but
I'm
also,
not-
but you can't discriminate against them simply
Of
because
course.
you.
Of course, anyone should have the right to discriminate against anyone he wishes. And the point is,
But not by
why-
the law, Mr. Taylor. You can't do that.
I think the law is absolutely incorrect.
Do you feel that whites are superior, are more intelligent than blacks?
I think, on average, whites are more intelligent than blacks, and North Asians are more intelligent than whites.
How can you
All of
say
this
that?
How can you think otherwise?
Mr. Taylor,
Why
what are you...
vigilance would you have to think that a pygmy is, on average, is just as intelligent as a Dane? Why would you think that? The entire record of history is completely consistent with the assumption that black Africans are less intelligent on average than Asians or Caucasians.
That's absurd. That's repugnant and
Wait,
absurd.
Repugnant to you?
Yes, of course.
Why would you even entertain the possibility that on average a pygmy is as intelligent as a Japanese?
The comparison that you are trying to make, it is simply impossible because of historical circumstances, because economic conditions, because of the
More
movement.
excuses. We have to be willing to say to all those who are non-European, we wish you well, but this territory is for us. And sorry, we have the right to be us, and only we can be us.
So you want me to leave?
Under certain circumstances, yes, we would ask you to go. Unless whites are prepared to exclude people, then they will be shoved aside. That is the fate which I will fight until my last breath.
Well, isn't that interesting? Now, did anybody notice the passion with which that guy spoke? That guy passionately hates. That guy passionately hates. Okay? That's a guy, and yes, Ronnie, we won't say many. We'll say a lot. We'll say, I'd be willing to go with more than 50% of them. Okay? Feel this way. I'd be willing to say more than 50% of them. You know? Racism here, I got a theory. And tell me what you think about this. Yes, he believes what he's saying. He does believe it. You know what, Ronnie? That's the problem. Now, his belief is not based on any facts. His belief doesn't have any facts behind it. He passionately just hates. And everything, all of his beliefs comes from the things that he has read. He has not read any actual facts about historical rates of intelligence around the world. He hasn't studied anything like that. He's coming up with stuff that he's read in the circles he travels in. And this man understands. He understands what it means that Donald Trump has just been reelected. That's the first thing he cited was Donald Trump's plan. Okay? Racism in this country racism in this country can only go away. This is the one thing I've heard people talking about. How can we stop racism in America? Y'all check my theory out. The only way that racism could ever go away in America is when a white man like that talks to another white man, and another white man convinces him that he's wrong. He'll never listen to a black man about anything, or that Latino man, nothing. He'll never listen to him about anything. When white next door neighbors get together and discuss race, racism has a chance to be eliminated. But that's the one thing in America that doesn't happen. You hear all kind of talk shows and all kind of urban leagues and all kind of marches for our power and all kind of people talking about all kind of things. But until a white person comes out of his house and talks to the guy that lives next door to him and tells him, hey man, you're really wrong about that. And then another white guy comes up and joins the conversation and both of them tell him, hey man, you're really wrong about that. You know, when people like him get isolated by other white people, then you will start to see the tide of racism turn. But until that day, and I don't expect that day to be showing up. I don't expect that day to come. Because I tried an experiment once. I asked a white man that I knew. I said, hey man, how often do you and your neighbor ever discuss racism? And he said, oh, we don't talk about that. I said, yeah, well, I figured that. I said, do you know if your neighbors are racist or not? He said, I know he's not a racist. I said, well, if you never discuss racism, how do you know he's not a racist? And he went on to say, yeah, I know he's not a racist. I just know it. I say, you just know it? There we go again. He just believed his neighbor is not a racist. Okay? So I said, well, hey, okay. Then you should be confident enough to ask him how he feels about black people. Oh, no, I'm not going to ask him that. I'm not going to ask him that. Why wouldn't you want to ask him that? I don't get it. No, I'm not going to ask him that. I'm not going to ask him that. I asked, are you afraid of actually finding out that he is a racist? Or are you afraid that you would have to make a decision once you did find out he's a racist? Because if you find out he's a racist, then it's on you if you keep associating with him. So which one is it? I'd be willing to bet. He's more afraid of finding out the guy's a racist and what that would say about him and the people he associates with. You know, because he was one of those guys that's quick to say, yeah, we got a black guy at our church. You know, he's one of those guys. Anyway, that's my theory. I don't know if I'm right or not, but I know one thing. All the talking that's been done, you know, I've heard talking about racism since I've been alive. And I don't think it's moved. I don't think the needle has moved one bit. Not one bit. You know? That's my opinion. You know? You might think differently. I know one thing. We just elected a guy with a criminal background that's longer than we've been alive. Now somebody wants to tell me, well, it's because people spending too much on eggs and butter. Nope. That ain't why. That's not why. Anyway, I'm ranting again. Y'all ought to stop me when I get to ranting like that. Shoot. Did anybody get a chance to look at CNBC at all? Anybody at all? Did you at least spend a couple of minutes looking at it? Hands up. Because I did say I was going to try and get into some investing too. Ronnie, you did. Okay. And I know, turning to a network like CNBC or Bloomberg or any of the other financial networks, it's kind of tough because that's not something you normally do. And when you do, you'll be listening to a language that you don't understand. But when you want to learn a new language, you have to hear it. So, I knew that the majority wouldn't get much watching in, but I had hoped that you all would get a few minutes in one day. Ronnie, as far as you're concerned, congratulations. Good deal. Glad you did. I'm going to start with a couple of little basic things that you haven't watched the news since the elections. Well, I wasn't talking about the news. I was talking about when CNBC, all they talk about, well, they do get a bit into politics, but they only go into politics to the point where it affects Wall Street. They don't really, it's not really a political show, and it's not a news. There's not news shows on it. Each show on CNBC is about finance, Wall Street, forecasting, different things. So, you didn't think it was that foreign. Cool, that's great. You're familiar with bull markets. That's great. That's good stuff. Then you get to come to the front of the class. Anyway, if you want to get into investing, the first thing you need to do is, besides start listening to shows like CNBC, the shows that are on that network, Bloomberg, shows that are on that network, and you can go online and to like Yahoo Finance, stuff like that. They have videos and stuff. Also, you can get a brokerage account. If you intend to invest anything, you need a place to invest from. Now, let's talk about brokerage accounts. There are all sorts of brokerage accounts, especially now. Now, most of them are online. Most of them are, a lot of them are apps. You can go in the app store, and like the main one that I hear about nowadays is Robinhood. I don't know if any of you heard of it, but that's an app. You can go to that app, link an account to it, and you can fund your account through that app. Me personally, I buy my investments through Charles Schwab. And it's simply because I'm a traditionalist. I believe in having a place that has offices and telephones that I can call, offices I can go into and talk to a human being. You have an investment on Robinhood. Okay. If Robinhood's your thing, that's cool with me. The whole idea is to have an account somewhere, because that's where you can do your investing from. And I understand if you get an account with Robinhood, like if you pass it on, they'll even, isn't it somewhere they'll buy you a couple of shares of stock or something for passing it on or something? You use Robinhood, not making much. Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you how to make some money. I'm gonna share how to make some money. So, again, I prefer Charles Schwab. Who you go through, which one you go through is up to you. I'm gonna put up a image here. This is the web page to Charles Schwab. They have offices all around, so you can actually walk in and talk to somebody or call them on the phone. Now, if you buy stocks by calling them and asking them to do it, it's going to cost you. But as you can see, where it says trading fees and commission, if you do it online yourself, go online into their website and do it yourself, there are no fees. And to set up an account, there's no minimum amount. So you can set up an account with $100, link a bank account to it, fund that account through that account, and there's no fees attached. You make a trade, they don't charge you to make a trade. I remember when I used to have to pay good money per trade. So, and also, as you can see, most of those have no fees. So, that's the first thing. And what I would do is, if I was going to start out, I'd put $500 in. But you could start with $100. I'm just talking about what I would do. Every time I say something, it would be what I would do. Okay? And I'm not going to tell you what stocks to buy. I'm not going to tell you if I were you, I would do this. Nothing like that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to explain to you how I've made a lot of money. Now, there is one pitfall. When you make a lot of money, you can get drunk off the money. Okay? Understand this up front. when you make a lot of money, you can get drunk off the money. Just so you know that. So, I've made quite a bit of money with the method I use. And I tell you what, also, now it's not super fast. It's not fast, and it's not really risky. I don't do risky. I'm not going to be telling you how to trade. This is not going to be about trading stocks because that is complicated. I can tell you how to do that, but that's risky. You'll lose a lot of money learning, okay? I went to the school of hard knocks on that. So I do know how to trade, but that's not what I'll be covering. I'll be covering the relatively safe stuff. Explain the drunk. Okay. Having money and going out and dropping $30,000 on a Harley Davidson. Okay? Just because you got it. That drunk. Okay, you can get drunk. All right? Doing shit that I'm sure you've heard the term, got more money than brains. I'm sure you've heard that term. That, you know, you can have money and be like, you know, doing dumbass shit. That's drunk off the money. Okay? So, and when I say 30 grand, I mean 30 grand cash. Okay. So, you can, you know, you have to prepare your mind for making money. You got to really prepare your mind to have money. And the other thing, as I tell you these things moving forward, there's going to be a question that you're going to ask. There's a question is going to come to mind. And that question is, man, if it's that easy, how come everybody ain't doing it? Well, the reason everybody ain't doing it is because it takes two things. Two things. It takes commitment. You got to do it and stick to it. And you can't be afraid. You can't be afraid. You can't be, you know, if you're nervous about it, leave it alone. You know, if you go out and buy 10 shares of ABC company and you can't sleep at night because you scared that I don't want to lose that $100 I just spent, it's, you know, if you're going to be like that, don't even bother. And if you're not going to commit to do this regularly, you have to believe in your choices. There you go. Believe in your choices. And you have to be committed to repeating what you are doing. Because it's a wash, rinse, repeat. Okay? That's what this is. Wash, rinse, repeat. All right? So, the first thing I'm going to say beyond that is the first thing I'm going to tell you is when I talk about investing, I talk about long-term investing. Okay? I'm not say check your bank CD rates. You can start small and just keep compounding interest. Well, yeah, you could do CDs, and then renew at a higher rate, another rate. Well, that's true. You could do CDs, but what I'm talking about doing, as I show you examples, you are going to probably, again, I get two things when I tell people about this stuff. Two things is, man, I don't believe that. I don't believe that for nothing. At least they're FDIC insured. Well, your money is also insured when you send it to a broker. When you got money at a brokerage, it is insured. Now, buying a share of stock does come with some risk, but the risks can be mitigated. Okay, there's ways to make sure you don't have any big losses. Okay, and I'm going to explain those ways too. Little by little, we're going to get up that hill. Okay, so I'm going to start, let's see, 50 minutes. Let's do about a few more minutes. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you right now 3 forms of stock. When you buy stock, and when you're looking at buying stock or want to buy stock, there's all kinds of stock, all kinds of company. Okay, each company has a structure as far as the IRS is concerned. Each company, when they go public and sell stock, this particular stock takes a certain form. Okay, it has a certain it's a financial makeup. It's for IRS purposes. So I'm going to show a few of the types that I invest in. Okay. This right here is an ETF. This is an exchange traded fund. That's what ETF stands for. And an ETF is a stock. Maybe you've probably heard of something called a mutual fund. A mutual fund is something that your 401k would have invested in. Okay? An ETF is like a mutual fund, but it is traded on the public exchange like a regular share of stock. And you can buy shares of this mutual fund. Okay? Now that is what this is. This particular company is a mutual fund. And I mean, not a mutual fund, but an exchange traded fund. It's like a mutual fund. And what it does is this fund goes out and buys shares of companies and add all of those shares of companies into the fund, just like a mutual fund. Okay? Now, I'm only showing that one right there just for the purpose of showing what kind of stock it is. Okay? I invest in exchange traded funds like this one, as well as closed-end funds. Okay? This one is a closed-end fund. Now, you may notice that highlighted area, that bold area that says CLM. That is called a ticker symbol. A ticker symbol is how you find a stock on the stock exchange. If you got a brokerage account, once you get one, if you want to buy a share of stock, you will use that CLM. That's the ticker symbol. And right next to it, it says NYSE. That's New York Stock Exchange. It tells you where that stock trades. Okay? So, CLM, that's Cornerstone, yada, 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 is a closed-end fund. Now, what's the difference between a closed-end fund and an exchange-traded fund? Basically, the difference is a closed-end fund cannot create new shares. Once it established how many shares it is, that's it. That's the number of shares you got in the fund, and those shares are bought and sold. They never make new shares. An ETF is an open-ended fund. They can create new shares, and we'll get into that later. But that's just the difference between a exchange-traded fund and a closed-end fund. Okay, one more. Let me see. No, I didn't have them queued up. Matter of fact, getting kind of late, so we'll kind of wrap it up right here, and I'll get more into that Monday. But I'm going to get into a few more types. One other type of stock that I invest in is called a real estate investment trust. And that's a different type of company for IRS purposes. You know, each one of these sets itself up as an exchange-traded fund, a closed-end fund, or a real estate investment trust for IRS purposes for one reason or another, and we'll get into those reasons next week. And more of the basic stuff. So, but for right now, just remember, if you want to get into investing, you got to get an account. And when you're looking up stocks, okay, remember, you have to know the ticker symbol of a company. And a lot of times, all you got to do is punch in the name of the company in your search. Like it'll say, there's usually a spot that says, search, and you'll put a company name in. A lot of times, the ticker symbol will pop up. Now, also, again, I'm not going to be getting into CDs. I'm not going to be getting into options. We're not going to talk about options. That's too complicated. We're not going to talk about bonds and like that, municipals and all of that, T-bills. Not going to get into that. That's a form of investing. I tell you what, T-bills are great, but I found a way that is a lot better. It's, when you got a good amount of money and in a interest rate environment that is favorable to T-bills and stuff like that, bonds, then that's something cool to do, but that's later on. We're going to stick with companies of a certain type and caliber, and once I get into it, you will understand. Believe me, you will understand. Anyway, I'm coming up on an hour. Tell you what, thanks for showing up. I appreciate y'all. We'll get back into it next Monday, 7 o'clock. I appreciate it. Got something to send me? Send it here, and we'll check it out. It's Friday. Y'all have a good time. Do something on the weekend. I'll see you Monday. Take it easy.